Welcome to Cities on the Move. I'm your host, Stephanie Passingham. Anthony Hernandez was looking for a challenge, so he applied to Harvard. He has just completed his freshman year, and he joins us to share his impressions of this storied university. We will also visit with Bill Klingerman and Ron Osmon about the Sentence to Serve program and how local organizations can benefit. And finally, we learn more about the economic development process and the assets Austin, Minnesota has to offer businesses. We'll have all this and more coming up on Cities on the Move. Anthony Hernandez was an accomplished high school student looking for his next challenge. His freshman year at Harvard turned out to be just that, and a great deal of fun. Let's listen.
My name is Anthony Hernandez. I am from Austin, Minnesota, and I just finished up my freshman year at Harvard. When I began the whole college search process, I was always very skeptical about myself applying to Harvard. In fact, I didn't really tell anyone that I was applying. And the ultimate decision for me came down between Stanford and Harvard, which was a hard decision. I visited both places in the spring of my senior year. And I think when a lot of kids go and visit schools, you get a sense, you just get, that kind of gut feeling. The atmosphere just kind of feels right, and I felt that at Harvard. What I wanted in a college, and what Harvard has given me, was rigorous and invigorating classes, which there are, and then interesting, intellectual, creative classmates, which there also are. Harvard has a really great size undergrad population, I think. There's 6,000 undergrads, which amounts to about 1,600 per grade, which is, I think, the perfect size. It's not too small where you feel like you're still in like a high school environment where everyone you see is a face that you know. But it's also not, the 40,000 of a big state school. Throughout high school, I never pursued extracurriculars or, different things with a college goal in mind. If you do what you're interested in, if you do what you like working hard at, and those things will reward you, during high school, but they will also reward you when it comes time to applying for college, I think. I think generally the hardest part about adjusting to college life is the immediate lack of guidance. College creates a good sense of independence, whether it comes from, you don't have to do the assignments. No one's there telling you to do the reading every night, but, you'll see the consequences if you don't. The most interesting experience I've had, I think, would have been a class that I took first semester. It was taught by these two big-name professors, one from the law school, one from the Kennedy School of Government. And the class was called Extremism, and so we studied the sources and motivations behind terrorism, behind genocide, what causes moderates to be pushed to an extreme. And it was a small class, 12 kids, with these two upper faculty level professors. And it was just an incredible opportunity to be able to pick the brains of some of the foremost thinkers of our time. And they also picked our brains, back. If I could offer one piece of advice to kids going through the college search/application process, it would be that you'll end up at the school that's right for you. And I think that's just the way it'll work. Kids should never be discouraged from applying to a place because it's too hard or too far, or they don't think they can get in. Every day at school, I try to remind myself how lucky I am to be here. The whole atmosphere that comes with having a school with 300 years of history is really very exciting to be a part of.
Can you name one of the 3 PGA players born in Austin? Find the answer on our website, ksmq.org.
Well, today we're going to talk a little bit about the Sentence to Serve program in Mower County, and we have a couple of special guests. We have Bill Klingerman, who is the coordinator for the program, and we have Ron Osmon, who is with the Mower County Fairgrounds and has benefited from the program. Thanks so much for being here, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well, Bill, give us just kind of a basic understanding of what Sentence to Serve is.
Well, sentencing to service is a program that started in 1986. It's been around. It was primarily to help out in overcrowding of jails, and it's just kind of expanded more from just working with adults. Now we also work with juveniles throughout the county too, and I should say the state. So.
Okay.
But it's expanded from that, from doing ditch cleaning projects, and now we've expanded to where we've done, crew leaders have built pole barns to, wow. Yeah, it's been pretty intense stuff we get involved in at times.
So when you talk about overcrowding, are these folks that are, obviously, tell us how they get into the program. They've committed a crime and they're in jail, or this is, sometimes you read in the paper, you're sentenced to community service. I mean, give us a sense of who is on these crews and how they get there.
Okay, well, it could be someone, let's just say someone like drinking and driving, they were sentenced, and they have opportunity to go out and work, which would be the Huber program. And if they're on the Huber program, then they have an opportunity to come out and work with me if they don't have a job. And as long as they're nonviolent offenders, the jail screens them, lets me know that they think this individual would be fine to be on my crew. I take a look at it and okay it, and send them out on work with me. Typically, I'll have someone about 30 days on my crew, individual. It's sometimes more. I could have them 4 or 5 months too, but usually like 30 days, a few less than that. But.
Okay. And if they weren't on your crew, would they then be experiencing jail time, or are there other opportunities for them, or do you kind of pick and choose who gets to come your way in terms of how they fulfill that sentence?
Well, usually if someone is able to qualify for the program, typically I allow them on, unless there's something I happen to see or I know something that they shouldn't be on. But usually if they didn't get on my program, they would be up in jail, costing the taxpayers more money, because for each day we get them out of jail, they get a day off their sentence. So reducing the jail crowding and saving money for the taxpayers, it's a win-win situation that way.
Sure.
We're getting some work from them.
Okay, sounds good. And in order for them to be approved, you said the jail kind of does some screening for them. I'm assuming you mentioned that you don't end up with violent offenders. People may want to know, well, who are these crews out here, and is it safe to be around them when they're working? Give us a sense, and certainly don't name names, but give us a sense of the type of crimes that they may have committed. You mentioned DUI as one.
Yeah, DUIs. I've had quite a few with drug-related, with meth being so rampant. I've had many people that involved with drugs that way. Or I've had some that been shoplifting, and some of them aren't necessarily in jail too. Some of them are coming from home, which you're saying community service, but they're doing their community service through me.
Okay.
And so they're working off like a fine, like let's say the judge put a $500 fine on them. So they're working that off. So many days they work with me, they're working that amount off.
Okay.
Or else they do community service. They also work at the fairground sometimes too with Ron.
Yeah, well, and let's talk about that, Ron. You have utilized some of these crews. Tell us what they do for the fairgrounds out there.
A lot of it is, setting up for the fair, setting up all the cattle pens and hog pens and stuff like that. He does a lot for the barrel show when we have that. The National Barrel Show is out there in September. And he has a crew out for that and help setting up pens for that. He does a lot. He goes around and in the spring cleans up the grounds and branches and helps do some trimming of some trees and the crew is really a good crew. He's got good guys that work with it and a lot of help.
And typically, how many guys would come out and work on a crew at the fairgrounds, for example? How many people are in a particular crew?
Well, I usually average around anywhere from 6, 7, 8, right around that range. Okay. I can have up to 11, but in which I've had plenty of times.
We plenty of times had 10, I know, and that really, when we're setting up pens, are really it saves us a lot of man hours, with this crew coming in.
Sure. Now, Ron, are you in charge of supervising when they come out then, or Bill, do you go with the crew as well?
Oh, I'm with the crew.
You're with them always.
Work right with them.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So for other agencies that might be interested in inquiring with you, Ron, what kind of experience should they expect, and what are the things that you do to prepare for Bill and his crew, and do you think it's worthwhile for other organizations to utilize this service?
Oh, definitely. For us, Bill's really great to work with, and when he comes out, we tell him, okay, this is what you need to do. We talk to him first, and then he goes out and lines up his guys, and we really don't have, we don't deal with his crew other than through him. Usually it's, we give him what we want done, and they just go out and do it.
And they just do it. Wow, sounds handy. Are most of your crew availability hours during the day, during the week? Do you work the crew in the evenings, on weekends? What kind of schedule do you operate?
Sure. Each crew is a little bit different, but for my schedule is Wednesday through Saturday. I work 4 10-hour days, and 8 of that is with the crew. So I start like a typical day with the crew would be at 8 in the morning to 4 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And I have worked a few evenings. If there's a special event that we need done, and I know I've done that with Ron at the fairgrounds, something needed to be done, and I've changed a little bit so we could help out on an evening shift.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You've mentioned, you've done things like cleanup and setup, but you've also built this pole barn. Are there special skills that the crew gets screened for before they're allowed on a project like that?
Well, for one, you don't want someone climbing, doing a roofing project. You don't want someone up on the building that's not really good with heights. And you got to find out what each person's skills are and what they're comfortable with, I just can't put them out, saying, no, there you are. So it wouldn't be fair to them or me or the project manager of the site.
And about how many, the Mower County sounds like it benefits greatly from this project. About how many other organizations do you work with throughout the community?
Oh, boy. I worked with Visitation Center before, the Michael Seibel Center, helped building, tearing down the old motel that was there. Mm-hmm. I was involved in that. We worked for help out with the Park and Rec through Todd Park. I help out with the Nature Center, Salvation Army. I've helped out with ARC.
So quite a few.
There's quite a few. The DNR, of course, I do some work with through the area. The Moore County Highway Department.
Are most of your projects outdoors?
Yeah, I'd say probably I have to be at least 95% of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make this a seasonal program then, or are your crews out in the wintertime as well?
We're out in the wintertime too.
Okay.
It's a year-round thing. Some days if it's real cold, we try getting inside somewhere, to work if we can. Otherwise, we're doing some brushing projects, some shoveling if the snow's there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's quite a bit. And if someone, I hesitate to call them a prisoner, because I know you said sometimes they come from home, but does the offender, is there a waiting list for them to get in? I mean, is this something that they really like to do to get, maybe they don't have the financial means or they don't want to sit in jail? I mean, do you have a waiting list for people that want to be on your crew?
Well, as far as I know personally, there isn't a waiting list so far. With exception, maybe up at the jail, there could be a little bit of one. Because I usually take 5 of them out to 6. Mm-hmm. So I do mix people from home and with the jail people coming out, the offenders. So, but sometimes I have a waiting list if you back up, but I usually keep them moving pretty good.
All right, sounds good. And what's your take on why a program like this is important, not only for the community, but maybe for the offenders as well?
Well, I've always told people, if you had a neighbor that got in trouble, would you like someone coming out of jail a little more positive, a little more self-meaning that they feel of themselves? I just think it's a good program. It helps somebody realize that, hopefully boost their self-esteem, and who can't use that? Everyone likes to have a little boost here and there.
Right.
So.
Is there any formal training provided to them with some of these positions, or is it pretty basic labor that they can pick it up as they go along?
Usually it's pretty basic. I mean, if there's something that we need certain skills, that we always try to make sure they know how to handle the equipment. We all kind of go over, if they know how to. Once in a while, I'll have a guy work a chainsaw, but usually I do a lot of the chainsawing myself. But I do have a few guys that are really good at chainsawing, so I'll put them in a particular situation and let them go at it.
Do you see repeats? I mean, do you see the same people coming through your program every now and again?
I'm smiling because, yes, I do. I really do. I mean, they have to admit, these guys are good people that keep making some same mistakes, unfortunately. But hopefully someday that the program and realizing that, they'll get a job and keep out of trouble, I hope.
Sort it out.
Get things sorted out for themselves a little.
For organizations that may be watching today and they may be interested in, visiting with you and saying, gosh, I wonder if this will work for a project we have in mind. Are we eligible? And, that's one of my questions is, Mower County Fair is obviously a nonprofit organization. Are there requirements for the organizations before your crew will go out and assist?
Well, sure. First of all, they have to be, a local government for one. If it's county or state or townships or nonprofit. But there is one thing where I could do work for an individual if, let's say the Human Services said that this older person needs someone to mow their lawn or need a little help with lifting something. Oh, we could go and, give them a hand with something like that.
Okay.
And when we do mowing or shoveling for them, I always have to tell them that if it snows one day, I may not be there right away, but we'll get there for you. So it can be a little delay sometimes for them, but.
Okay. And how do folks get in touch with you if they would like to visit with you about having your crew come out and work with them?
Oh, sure. I have my office phone, and it's 507-434-2697. And it's more of a message line because I'm usually there early in the morning, like about 6. And
then you're out with the crew.
Yeah, then I go out with the crew. Otherwise, then I'll just have to catch it on a message line, usually.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, thank you both for coming in to visit about this. It sounds like it's a good deal for the organizations that participate. Bill keeps his guys in line, and they do good work.
Yes, they do.
So, all right. Well, if anyone has any questions, give Bill a call at that number that he mentioned. And again, leave a message if you have to, because he's out working with his crew. And I thank you both for being here to talk about this program.
Thank you.
All right. Stay tuned for more Cities on the Move.
John Edward Mower was a member of the Minnesota Territorial Legislature in the 1850s. On March 1st of 1856, the second territorial Governor Willis A. Gorman honored him by giving him the newly created Mower County his name. John was born in New Vineyard, Maine in 1815 and made the move west and settled in St. Louis, Missouri. He died on June 11, 1879 and is buried in Fairview Cemetery in Stillwater, Minnesota.
Economic development can be a complex process. We sat down with John Gary at the Development Corporation of Austin to talk about some of the basic principles that are put into action to help the community grow. Let's take a look.
Economic development is a complicated business with many factors that influence the outcome. Communities throughout the region have teams of individuals, organizations, and government entities that work together to ensure their economic vitality. Austin, Minnesota is one of those communities. John Gary of the Developmental Corporation of Austin describes the lengthy list of stakeholders in town.
It's quite a few people that have a stake in economic development. I mean, you can make a really long list. The primary players are the city, the county, the Port Authority, which is part of the city, Austin Utilities, Chamber of Commerce, Riverland Community College. You could make it a much longer list.
Economic development typically falls into three main approaches.
One is to try to support companies that are already here to grow, to more jobs, expand their tax base or grow that way, more jobs, better jobs. Second area is to try to get companies to consider moving into your community So Moore County has available sites for development, and then to try to get new companies to consider looking at them. Or if you have empty buildings, would they consider that building? The third way would be to help companies start. And then if it's just somebody doing a business out of their home or their garage or their barn, what can a community offer them to get them to kind of take to the next step?
Businesses in various stages of their growth have a wide range of needs that can be met by the community.
If it's a community that's already here and is trying to grow, what's attractive to them is most likely going to be some type of tax incentive to take the leap to get it bigger, or some type of combined financing, so they go to the bank and they get a loan for, let's say, 7%. Is there a way that that loan can be strengthened or guaranteed with some public funding as well to bring the cost of the expansion down a little bit? From the outside, if it's a company that's looking at moving here, they're going to look at a broader range of things because, for one thing, they're comparing many communities. So they got to do a true apples-to-apples comparison. They have to look at the tax structure. They have to look at logistically, where's the city and where are their customers? Why that place and not this place? Just as far as where they should be physically located. More and more, what they look at as far as workforce is a skilled workforce. The startups, they know the technical aspects of what they want to do for that business, but then also have, say, the bookkeeping, the marketing, and all of the HR expertise. So what they want is support that what they're missing, somebody can help them pick it up.
Fortunately, many communities in our region, including Austin, are blessed with many of these assets. Good transportation infrastructure, building sites ready to go, higher education for training the workforce, the list goes on and on. There is often an intangible factor that supports economic development in a community as well.
I think that in general, the perceived stability of a community, are your schools doing well? Are people safe? Are there things to do? In general, it's very important that you're seen as a community that's stable and growing and interested in a lot of things and sort of progressive thinking.
Austin is also specifically fortunate to be home to a locally grown Fortune 500 company. From providing excellent jobs and an economic benefit to the community, Hormel Food Corporation's presence also brings a wealth of human resources to nonprofit organizations through an expanded volunteer base. While John is Midwestern modest about the results of his efforts, he points out the importance of individual and business efforts which make the community succeed.
To take a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year look at where you want your community to go, and really to build consensus, community-wide consensus on that, what you do control is how strong is our public schools? How much do we connect with our Riverland Community College? Those kinds of things. That's how you really, over long term. And I think people, support the United Way. That's economic development, I think.
Through a variety of partnerships, economic development in Austin, Minnesota is keeping the community a city on the move.
Cities on the Move is on the web. Make a comment, ask a question, or share your good idea by visiting our website at ksmq.org.
And now for our calendar of events. On Wednesday, July 15th, check out the Show, Shine, and Run from 4 to 8 p.m. Plan to display your car or motorcycle at Watts Cookin'. At 8 p.m., there will be a short planned run of about 50 miles returning to Watts Cookin' around 9 or 9:30 p.m. There's no charge, but a free will donation for the Red Cross will be taken. If you have a 4-H'er with a green thumb, you might be interested in Thursday morning workshops for Mower County junior gardeners. Held from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., your junior gardener will have time in the garden, plus nutrition and 4-H lessons on a variety of topics. Learn from master gardeners, 4-H adult youth leaders, and Extension 4-H and nutrition staff. Classes are held at the Mower County Fairgrounds. Classes July 9th are about wildlife and purple martins. July 16th, indoor gardening and food preservation, in particular jam. And on July 26th, landscaping. For complete schedule and information, call 507-437-9552. On July 21st through the 25th, the Somerset Theatre presents Nonsense Jamboree. The Nuns are back. Penny Kinney, Connie Nelson, Cece Crock, and Jan Thomas reprise their sisterly roles as Sister Mary Amnesia takes the nuns on a country western jamboree tour. Call 507-433-0595 for tickets or more information. If you have an event to share, please visit our website, ksmq.org, and tell us all about it.
Cities on the Move is on the web. Make a comment, ask a question, or share your good idea by visiting our website at ksmq.org.
Next week, we'll check out canoeing on the Upper Iowa River, visit with Mothers of Multiples, and learn more about aprons from Sandy Erdman. Please join us Tuesday, July 14th at 6:30 p.m. for another edition of Cities on the Move. I'm your host, Stephanie Passingham. Good night.
Production of this program is made possible in part through a grant from the Blandon Foundation.